Ashish ji. So I think, just before we start, what Deepak ji said about, the lady who needed pickles. When we talk of MSME, usually, we talk in just we use a very wide, broad brush approach, like all MSMEs is one segment and we're talking of common requirements. So MSME is so, diversified that M, S and M, it's very, very different ecosystems, very different worlds. And so the digital, I would say inclusion of all of them and their financial requirements are very different. The micro ones are still looking, I think the digital potential is to include them in the financial system because they have not ever got money from the financial system. So that's the first one, the micro unorganized. Micro also is quite big now, but I think 95% of the 6 crore enterprises which are mentioned in by MSME ministry would be requiring maybe less than 50,000 or 1 lakh rupee loans. So that is the, and most of them are underserved or poorly served or not served at all. So that's the first thing. So their digital can include them into a formal system, actually start giving them money away from the money lenders in a better way, in a more, I would say, credible way. That's what digital could do. Then there comes the small sector where, of course, small are people who are already banked, most of them. I would take them as really organized entrepreneurs having factories and some kind of a formal setup. And they have their accounts and they have their balance sheets and they have bankers. So these people are organized. But, how do they grow further is that, they get better kind of facilities when they grow because they have a very template-based working capital assessments by banks and things like that. So for them, probably, trade finance solutions like trades helps because now, they should learn to look at working capital in a different way. They're very much used to a CC-based model, which is in India, which is not a very good model. It's a lazy kind of model. You just give money and then hope everybody is using it in a proper way. It brings a lot of inefficiencies from everywhere. So transaction-based, working capital, that's the future. So that's what fintechs are bringing, the digitals are bringing. There are different people doing invoice discounting. And that's what will become the future of working capital. Nobody is going to give money. Maybe a small part of your working capital will be given as a CC or a base limit. But everybody will want the rest of it to be backed by proper transactions which the lenders can see. And that's why RXIL and probably invoice discounting, some of the fintechs, Alok is sitting here. And, these are the people who will create those new solutions for them to quickly, when they're growing too fast, they cannot wait for an annual review by a bank. My limit will increase next year now. Though I have a big opportunity right now, they can't wait for that. So for them, these on-tap kind of fintech platforms where they go and actually, get faster realization of receivables, it will help them, bring their working capital better. And then there is the, I would say, medium, which is now a company of nearly 250 crores. So, we are talking of a very different world now. This may be a global company already doing business in 5 countries. So these are not the companies we're talking when we're talking of small fintechs. These are the companies probably they need proper fintech platforms for, I recently met a platform which is for LCs for, getting a banker to confirm their LCs when they're supplying to Africa. These people need, more matured and sophisticated financial products. But there also fintechs are coming in now. And fintechs will bring in platforms because these are the difficult things. How to bridge that credibility gap between a buyer and seller in different countries and making small companies think global. So that's these 3 M, S and M are very broadly very, very different worlds, and the digital will play a very different role. Coming to SIDBI one by one, now you said about SIDBI. So SIDBI is not a very retail organization. We are a public sector kind of constitution, but our focus is, I would say, we don't even come in the way of fintechs or in the same world of small NBFCs. We are really specialists of project finance, which is a very different world. So still, I would say very little fintech play there. Yes, today, so we give loans when a company is expanding from, setting up a new factory. So these are not things which a fintech will assess immediately. These require judgment. These are different kind of cases. Somebody's turnover of 5 crore is raising 5 crore more. So this is not something any fintech will do because this requires a proper analysis of his plan, discussions, understanding the market and things. And it'll never be so easy in near future to see that an algorithm taking a decision on this. That's my view. A lot of things will get, working capital side will get very, very automated and very, very transparent. But project financing is like a little bit of risk, and equity is higher risk. These are things which will not get, digitalized so easy, because here a lot of judgment is involved. Yes, we are also doing, products like, if it's a machinery financing, there's a lot of public digital infrastructure created over last 6 years. A great work has been done by Government of India, starting from, UIDI. So, basic KYC, eKYC, then there is, now there is GST, and then MCA APIs. So now there's so much of data about the borrowers available. So, in that sense, every bank, every NBFC is anyway increasing their digitalization levels. So all these pipes are available of data which were not there earlier, and all the banks are just, plugging them in their system. So that even if I'm giving a project loan, at least, a lot of information is available to me about that company, about that supplier, machinery supplier, about, the promoters. And we are continuously, fixing them, plugging them in our processes, internal processes, and making them more digital. So we are taking quick decisions for small loans, template loans, like machinery loans. We give loans up to 1 crore machinery loans. So those are pretty well digitalized now, where we can disburse in probably 1 week's time. And that's a very good time to give that size of loan. But project finance, we are using this public infrastructure to improve our understanding and our quality of appraisal, and improving our scores with the help of the data which is coming in. Hopefully in future, the data will get intelligent. We'll have some intelligent systems to, use our experience to help us in further decision making. But, SIDBI, as you said, also has a bigger role as an ecosystem kind of creator, enabling ecosystem for, MSMEs. And that's where I would say SIDBI has been focusing on digital now for last 5 years. We realized the power of digital, and I think one of the major initiatives, 2-3 initiatives that SIDBI took was in 2017-18. We supported PSB 59 minutes. We, with a group of public sector banks, we created that company, and that's actually opened a lot of thinking process in all the public sector banks. For the first time, customers. So, individual banks are, let's say, digitalized, but still, how do the customer approach them? He still, he has to go to different places, contact 10 banks, understand their products. So still, there is a big requirement for a good marketplace for SME. Most of the marketplaces are focused on, personal loans and template loans like auto, housing. But SME loans, as soon as you, cross the bridge and reach corporate loans, it becomes complex because requirements are different. They don't fit in a template so easily. So 59 minutes started with a business loan where suddenly all the public sector banks of the country got connected, and they're connected digitally, and their, products are connected, their product contours, risk scores, everything is mapped at the back end on the other side of the system. And, borrowers come there, put some information, and in 59 minutes actually have an offer from more than one bank, sometimes 5-6 banks for a loan requirement of up to 5 crores. So that's something which actually became very successful. I would say it's not perfect. Maybe it's just 10% of what the real solution which will emerge 4 to 5 years down the line or 3 years down the line. But certainly it has opened the potential, and every public sector bank, I see that is now fully seized of the power of digitalization, is putting, ramping up their processes. So 59 minutes was one very successful initiative. It still goes on. It's adding new products. Then second was
Ravi, sorry to interrupt you in between. 59 minutes, which you have told, I think it's a great success also. But why? Because for SIDBI, banks and NBFC and FinTechs are same. Practically, it's an entire ecosystem. Why the NBFC have not come on this platform? Why not have been allowed to come on this platform? Actually, you see.
No, so this what you have said is right. NBFCs, I don't think they are not allowed to come on the platform. It's not like that. But we have had several discussions in recent past on this, MSME Ministries Forum and other forums also with NBFC. And we are now, so I was coming to that, a greater collaboration between NBFCs is required with banks and institutions like SIDBI. So so that's the next part, which is co-lending, which we're coming to. There, RBI came out with some guidelines, but there were some kind of issues in which is always there when a new kind of initiative is taken. and those issues are being resolved. Some modifications have been done on those guidelines, and I'm sure we'll see. The banks and banks are very formal institutions, and NBFCs are, especially I would say SME, and they are not that formal like banks. They can take quick decisions. They have very different ways of taking decision, while banks are very, very regulated and I would say very formal. So both are, I would say, still learning to work with each other. It's still kind of, it's still not fully concluded. I think Alok and all will know probably. They may be working with each other, or some of the private banks have maybe walked ahead, but public sector banks are still finding out ways, because both have to walk a step forward to, make this work, co-lending. If banks say that, I want to work with NBFC, we'll lend together, but NBFC will follow my policies, probably it will not work, because then NBFC will not be an NBFC. It will start working like a bank. So the synergies of the two have to come together. Banks have capital, bank have, cheap capital and large pools of capital, and NBFCs have kind of local understanding in their approach, field approach, and understanding of models, which different models with which they lend. So both have to gel together for this co-lending to work. So SIDBI is very much into that, and we'll be very much working with a lot of NBFCs in this space. Our current management is very keen to move forward and make co-lending work with NBFCs, and that's going to be a digital process. And last is, again, already we are doing some kind of co-lending in our model, which is known as Prayas, where we are trying to give very small loans up to 5 lakhs along with, BCs and MFI NBFCs by, having the asset in our book with very small first loss with them. So that's already working very fast. So we are all, I think, discovering ways to work together. Digital is enabling that. And I'm sure going forward, digital is going to be big, whether any, bank or whether MSME wants or does not want. There is a minimum digitalization of the ecosystem, which is happening. So, any MSME, its entire working data footprint will be in the system, with GST is there, MCA is there. So very soon, in 2 to 3 years, my sense is, if you ask me, credit is going to become more and more commoditized, because it's not going to be very judgmental. There will be so much information. Today, someone said you require money in one season. Again, Mr. Rao's example, you just require money in that season. But your GST data in future will automatically tell that to a lender, that when do you require more money, when do you sell more, when do you buy more. You don't need to tell anybody. All this information will be in the system. So you have to understand that, and then I think banks have to understand how to leverage the power of digital to really fund more and more companies in it, using the digital intelligently. It's not just automation; it's using this digital power intelligently. And MSMEs also have to increase their capability, or be left out from a lot of things, financial offerings in future. So that's at the starting point. These are my points.